Hello, YouTube, and hello, Ninth Age community. This is Charles with Evershade Gaming, and I've got another Ninth Age battle report. This is a new points for the new balance patch coming out this year in 2020. Actually, coming out today. Today I'm recording this. Very exciting. I think everybody's been very eager and anticipating and excited slash afraid slash another adjective you can put in there about the balance patch and what it's going to fold. I've been fairly excited as, a member of the content and the community engagement team, and just taking a look at different things and saying, oh, that's interesting. That looks very cool. That might be takeable now. And I have to say, I'm very excited about what Empire Sonnstahl is going to look like. We got some really nice point drops here and there. So I've brought them out on the tabletop, and I'm playing a game against Beast Turds today. My classic favorite opponent, and we played Marching Columns, and we played King of the Hill.
Looking at my Empire Sonnstahl list, I've got a Prelate with a 1-up, Great Weapon, the Kingslayer, Lucky Charm, Crown of the Wizard King. It's nice the Kingslayer went down 10 points in the new balance patch, so you can fit all those upgrades on that character. Death Warrant Marshal with the Will's Ward and Alchemist's Alloy. He's got a pistol too for fun. Marshal with a Grey Weapon to go in the Imperial Guard unit. The Wizard Master with Pyromancy, and then a Wizard Apprentice with Cosmo on a Griffin. Big unit of heavy infantry with the Rending Banner. 2 things of 20 infantry with halberds. 25 militia. Wanted to try that unit out. And then 24 Imperial Guard with Grey Weapons and a Champion Musician. Been looking at this unit and some people talking about it on the forums and just finding it really interesting. So I've been wanting to give it a try. I also have 2 units of 4 Knights of Sun Griffin. They went down in base cost and in extra models. Only small, but especially with the decrease with champions, musicians, 415 for 4 of those guys seems like pretty good right now. I can't complain about that too much. 2 Imperial Rocketeers, 2 volley guns, and that's my list. So creating lists with the new points can be a little bit difficult currently with, none of the apps or new recruit or 9th Age Builder being, up to date yet, because again, they weren't released. We played this game just this last Saturday. So my opponent did his best to make sure his list was both legal and also abiding by the, using the new points. He ended up going a little bit over his character category, and he ended up being a little low in points in the actual list. So honestly, I'm giving him a pass. I'll even show you the tweaks he made after we played to make his list both legal and also to use all the points he had available to him. So he's got a Beast Lord on his Razor Dust Chariot, Beast Axe, Thrown Weapons, Fatal Folly, Death Cheater, Obsidian Rock, classic kind of build, Beef Chieftain BSB, 2-up, 5-up with a Grey Weapon, Soothsayer Master with Destiny's Call, See the Dark Forest, Evocation, and then another Soothsayer Adept with Shamanism in the Book of Arcane Mastery. Then he's got 2 things of Mongrels with Spears and the Banner of the Wild Herd. He's got 15 Wild Horns for a bunker, 22 Longhorns with the Rending Banner, 3 Minotaurs with Great Weapons, 2 little packs of those, 15 Centaurs with Great Weapons, 5 Gargoyles, and a Raiding Chariot. So this is what my opponent played. Again, not quite legal with going over the character allotment and then not even using all the points available to him in the list. So, which would maybe just equal a few more Longhorn bodies. So this is what he ended up tweaking his list to be after we played our game. So basically the only changes is he had to drop the Razor Chariot to a Raiding Chariot, which part of him was thinking, I actually really want the 1-up armor save instead of the +1 movement when you're charging. His core stayed the same. I think he added what looks like a Longhorn, and he added Razor Test. So pretty kind of simple fixes. Not really big impactful changes. He just really had to drop a little bit from his characters and then add in a Razor Test. So yep, pretty simple. This is what he would have probably played, but again, not quite missing and if anything, he was just missing a chaff piece, which would have been helpful for him. So, looking at magic real quick. So, I took a Griffin Apprentice for the first time ever, which I thought was interesting. And I originally was thinking Altered Sight, and I took a photo of it, and then I realized I needed to roll my Crown of the Wizard King, and then my Prelate got Altered Sight, so I did not take a second picture, but I ended up giving this guy the Divination spell that gives him, like the +2/+2/+2 for offense, defense, agility. And then this is a terribly blurry picture of my Pyro Master, but he's got Quicksilver Lash, he's got Fireball, he's got Pyroclastic Flow, he's got Flaming Swords, and then I wanted to try out the new Cascading Fire, which is now a hex that, depending on your armor save, if you have a 6-up armor save, you'll suffer a -1 to your offensive skill and to your agility. I think it's very interesting for Empire Sonnstahl to have access to a way to debuff agility. So, looking at our battlefield here, this is one of the map packs. I have the table side with the water feature, and my opponent has the table side with the building and the hill. So, playing King of the Hill, my opponent put his piece on the hill. I put mine in the water feature. Kind of on the opposites. So we started deploying. I got the chance to deploy first, so I put a Knights of the Sun Griffin down on this side, and my opponent put a Minotaur pack. Then I put another Knights of the Sun Griffin on this side. He put, I think, the 35 Mongrels with spears. And then I want to say I missed the third drops. I ended up putting, I think, a volley gun down, actually. Yeah, he put, want to say maybe his Longhorns right there. And then I just deployed everything else. So next to the volley gun in the forest, I've got the Wizard with the big unit of State Militia. I've got the Griffin Wizard Apprentice behind them. I've got my big unit of heavy infantry with halberds, with my Prelate and my BSB. Then I've got the 2 rocket batteries just on the back of the board. Another volley gun behind the Impassable. And then my 2 units of heavy infantry with halberds flanking my 24 Imperial Guard with great weapons with the great weapon Marshal. So for my opponents, the rest of his deployment, so he put his general in front of the building. He put his BSB and his Wizard Master in the Longhorns. He put his Gargoyles in the Rune. He put his 15 Wild Horns behind the Rune with his Wizard Adept. Then he put his 30 Mongrels next to them. He put his Raiding Chariot next to them. He put his Centaurs and his Minotaurs guarding the hill with the objective on it for me. And I want to say, this is maybe actually the sort of scouting picture to say that he scouted into that room. This is my opponent's spells. His Adept's got Awaken the Beast, Savage Fury, and then his Master has got Hasten the Hour, Whispers of the Veil, Spectral Blades, and Touch of the Reaper. Those good, powerful snipes. And this is Empire Sonnstahl turn 1, in which I really just sort of maneuvered a little bit here and there. I didn't really want to take DTs in the water, and I felt I had a few turns to get to the hill, so I just very slowly get out of the water on the left flank. In the middle, I just sort of move up so that I can pop some bow shots. Fortunately, my volley guns don't have targets this turn because I can't really shoot within 24 inches. And just gonna line up to maybe cast a couple Pyromancy spells and hold back on the right flank. I didn't really feel like the Knights really had to go anywhere. I only get Flux card 2. And really I just get a Pyroclastic Flow off, kill 3 Gargoyles. One of my rocket batteries hits, kills a Minotaur. That was nice. And then going into my opponent's turn 1. So he moves the Gargoyles up pretty aggressively. He sort of chaff my heavy infantry, and then his whole line pretty much moves up. The hill flank with the Centaurs and Minotaurs really just position themselves on the hill so that if I want to come forward, he's gonna get easy charges, and I'm at the slog with those units. They all got gray weapons, so My Imperial Guard with great weapons, go Simo, so that's not the worst fight, honestly. And, now they are in range of my volley guns, so I do got some supporting fire from that. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go on that side of the board. And then obviously, I got the heavy infantry in the middle that going to have to do a lot of work because there are significant threats over there. So my opponent is Magic Face. He throws 3 dice that touch the Reaper, and he gets 1/1/1. So that was great. You always gotta love that. Then he does get off Waken the Beast for toughness. He also got the Clouded Eye Totem on his general. Then this is moving in Emperor Sonnstahl turn 2. So I didn't really feel like charging the gargoyles. Thought I might be too close to everything. So I just backed off, and I figured I can just pop my pistols at that unit with my militia, who also back off. And honestly, because I feel like I deployed my rocket battery or my volley gun poorly, I had to chaff his general turn 1 or turn 2 with the Griffin Apprentice. I also should have kept the Knights of the Sun Griffin forward to honestly zone a little bit maybe, but yeah, that was just a bad play on that side of the board. Other than that, again, they're moving up on the left slowly. We got kind of fully out of the water. We've got the parent unit in the front. So yeah, I think we're going to be able to start making a move on that hill. I got Flux card 7, which was helpful. Got a lot more dice this turn. I got Quicksilver Lash off in the general. Did 2 wounds. That was nice. I think my opponent tried to stop that. He couldn't. And then that's just about it, really, unfortunately, for the magic. Failed a couple spells. In the shooting phase, do get rid of the gargoyles, so that's helpful. I also, as you can see, I moved my wizard into my heavy infantry. I was thinking that these militia were going to possibly chaff the general again the next turn, or chaff the Longhorn unit if they wanted to both go into the Wizard Master and be forward. So that was kind of what I was thinking was going to happen. So I wanted to get the wizard out of there before that happened. Part of me was thinking, and my opponent really didn't have any offensive magic or anything. Or he had offensive magic, but he didn't really have anything else. I almost could have just popped him out of the unit probably. But I did not. So my opponent decides that he wants to charge his general into the... Oh, yeah, I guess that's a no. That's probably the shooting phase. I think the volley gun opens up and kills some of the mongrels, so nothing too crazy, but I think I killed like 5 or something like that. But that does show you where it's going. Oh, and then this bad boy shot at the centaurs, misfires. I think I rolled 665, which was disappointing. It misfires and can't shoot for turns, so that's a bit of a bummer. That definitely does not help out that left flank. And then I want to say one of my rock batteries does 3 wounds to the raiding chariot, so that's pretty cool. I think I tried to finish it off the other one, but I couldn't. And then this is going into my opponent's turn 2. So he attempts to charge his general at the Knights of Sun Griffin. I think he needed a 10 on the dice, so Swiss Stride. So I held, and he failed, thankfully. And then he also charged his Longhorns into the Wizard Apprentice on the Griffin, which I was fine with. He was there to chap. I made sure that if he charged, he was going to... I almost should have made sure that the front rank was out of the forest, because that ends up being a little bit of a bummer later on, because that is the seat of the Dark Forest right there. But I made sure that the front rank was at the very least poking out. I think I was trying to make it that he was going to have his front rank out for shooting purposes, but then also not too close that he couldn't make like a 12-inch overrun into my volley gun or my militia. So this is what the rest of the movement for my opponent looks like. He moves his raiding chariot up aggressively to sort of threaten my volley gun and to sort of, make me have to react to that. And yeah, everything else is sort of just moved up pretty casually at this point. This turn he gets a hasten the hour off with 665, so big difference between 3 1s. It ends up doing 2 wounds to both the Wizard Master and the Prelate, which was a bummer, but I mean, I didn't feel like throwing all my dice at it. That was the first spell he cast. He ends up also getting Awaken the Beast off over here, so very effective magic face for my opponent. Kills the Wizard Apprentice. I do end up killing, I'm agility 5 with that Griffin, so that thing goes first, kills 3 Longhorns, so that was actually pretty efficient for points, honestly. That he took 3 bodies down with it, and it still provided a chaff for a turn. I could see taking that a bit more often. I don't know about you guys. I mean, it's only 210 too. It's relatively cheap. Going into Empire Sonnstahl 3, I charge the unit on the right there, the heavy infantry with halberds, into the raiding chariot, which flees and goes back there. And then I just fail charge. And I also make a couple more charges. So I charge my heavy infantry into the mongrels, who also flee. I think I needed an 8 on the dice. I put on the double on both those units. And then I redirected into the Longhorns, and I made that charge. And I also charged my Knights of the Sun Griffin into his general. So it's very tight. We really got into some big combats here on Empire Sonnstahl turn 3. And then since my knights are chaffing his mongrels, I actually attempted to charge his minotaurs. I think I needed a 10 on the right there, and I failed that. But again, I'm not too worried. If he wants to charge me, that's fine. I think I win that, and he might do three wounds or so, but I think I'll be okay. Going to the magic phase, really just tried to bubble up a big flaming swords. I think I got the 1 magic phase, so not very effective. But I think I had about 6 dice or something like that, but even a couple more. But basically, what I ended up doing was I tried to bubble flaming swords because his general has a fortitude save, and that could really be painful for him. My opponent uses his dice to stop that. I got a great roll. And then I'm able to get Volan's Blessing off on the heavy infantry, which is going to be really good. And I got Altered Sight off on the Knights of Sun Griffin because the Beast Axe Beast Lord has Discipline 8. So the Knights would be hitting, Knights and Griffin would be hitting on 5s. Now they can hit on 4s. So, yeah, a little bit of a buff, right? I'm able to get rid of his fleeing raiding chariot. Doesn't really have to cause a panic text, but I was pretty confident it would rally, and then I wanted to get rid of it. So I used the one of the rocket batteries for that. The other one doesn't really do anything. And then going into combat, so I actually, as you can see, I did the combat with the heavy infantry first. And a bit of a regret because I could have used... I do pretty well overall. He kills my wizard, but we really decimate the unit. And then I put 2 wounds on his BSV with the Prelate. But he's bodyguard, so he ends up sticking. What I should have done, actually, is I had Hatred. I should have just killed the rest of the Longhorns with the Prelate. I was I was not entirely confident about pursuing this unit, only because there is a mongrel unit that has a couple ranks in my flank if I did that. So I kind of was like, well, I feel like I can outgrind this unit, and I'm not really too worried about losing any of my characters. So I don't think it was the best decision, but in the combat with the Beast Lord, as you can see, he's fled. He doesn't take any wounds. He doesn't really do any to me. He might do like 1 or 2. And then I pursue him, but I only go like 3 inches, which was enough to put me into the mongrels and not put me into the Longhorns. And it was very tight. And we're sort of not like, because obviously we've had a couple combats, not exactly flush with the halberdiers right now. But the the base of the rightmost Knights of Sun Griffin hit the mongrels before he hit the Longhorn. So it's very tight, but I was just able to get into the Longhorns. And then this is going into Beast Herd's turn 3. So my opponent actually decides, just honestly, I sort of backed up and set up some charges on the left, and my opponent just says, nah, and he just sort of turns the Centaurs to go help out in the center. He hits me with his Minotaurs into the heavy infantry, and I'm hoping they might hold, but we'll see what happens there. And yeah, so now I've got almost like a time limit on that middle combat because those Centaur are tough, and they got a lot of attacks at strength 6. So we got to figure out what we're gonna do in the middle here. I think he attempted to charge with his Minotaurs into the rightmost Knights of Sun Griffin. He failed, which again I actually would have liked. I think I would have won that. So he gets Savage Fury off on these guys, which is helpful because it gives them not only the battle focus but also the Fearless is very important. And then he also gets Awaken the Beast off. I want to say for Resilience, which I wasn't too worried about this one since I still have reroll to Wound off from the Blessing of Voland. And then that was it for Magic. Going into combat, these guys, I think I do 4 wounds to them. He does like 6 or something like that. He wins combat by, I think, 1 because of the charge. And I break from combat. So unfortunately, I couldn't hold. And now he's kind of past my units on the left there. And now he's got all the time in the world to threaten my backfield and my artillery pieces. I am hoping this volley gun, which can shoot next turn, can just blow them off the board. But, we'll see. So, and then pretty much the combat in the middle, he ends up doing like 5 or 6 wounds to the heavy infantry. I use my Prelate to kill the BSB. I use the rest of the heavy infantry to kill the Longhorns. But I was still, it just feels like a mistake now. I was still in line formation, so I didn't have any ranks, and his shaman ends up being able to, I think it just ends up being a tight combat, actually. Because he hit and wounded with, he really did a lot of attacks, actually, and did some serious damage. So that was a bit of a bummer. So this is actually Empire's Sonnstahl turn 4. I've reformed myself in the center to have as many ranks as possible. And then on the, and then the Knights of the Sun Griffin thankfully didn't bounce off the mongrels. He activated his banner that turn, but I think he was able to do I think we ended up having a tie combat right there. So that was very helpful. So they're grinding. The ones on the far right went into Minotaurs, and then on the left, I'm just moving towards the hill, just making my way to that hill to claim it. Yeah, gonna shoot the volley gun at those Minotaurs, and then I want to say this is going right to combat. So shooting phase, very disappointing. Just big old whiffs. Yeah, or actually no, this is the charge picture. I think I have even more pictures. Yeah, Magic. Magic, I want to say I was able to get maybe a bounce spell off or Altered Sight off. I shoot right here. And I do, I think, 1 wound. 1 or 2 wounds. No, 2 wounds. He had 1 wound on one of the Minotaurs. So, very disappointing. I think I rolled a 6 on 1-1 or something really bad like that. So can't kill that, so that stinks. And then actually my other volley gun shot at this guy, and I think this volley gun had Altered Sight. Did 4 wounds, fails all his armor saves, and he just makes 4 regen, makes 4 fortitude saves. Ugh. Those tough beast lords on their Razor Tusk chariots. Going into this combat, now this is combat. I do 5 wounds, just can't quite kill him, so he gets a strike, and he does 2 wounds to me, and then he breaks, and I decided not to pursue because I wanted to set up charge for next turn, so I just let him run. I mean, at this point, he's rallying on half, he's half points, whatever, right? And then, man, going into this, I was slightly nervous about putting my prelate into a duel, mostly because I think I was hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, because no, it might have been 2s. He's like discipline. He's like a high resilience right now. Maybe 2s. But I honestly wasn't really confident I would do that much damage. And I was just sort of hoping to use combat res to break him, and I didn't want to risk my prelate getting punked. It already has taken a wound from that previous spell. So I actually put my BSB in a duel with the shaman, and we end up winning by like 4. I don't do anything to the shaman. He doesn't do anything to my marshal, but he ends up sticking on something, like a 4 or something like that. Just straight up 4. Which stinks. So I was in a bit of a tough position here. I didn't want to give my flank to the centaur, and I didn't want to risk that. So I ended up giving my flank to the shaman, and then now I have a front on both those wild horns and on both the centaurs. His general did rally last turn, so he can come in the flank here. But I had the feeling like my opponent wanted to actually take on the Knights of the Sun Griffin. Since we fought that combat, I'm kind of winning. I'm pretty much winning the grind there. He's only AP 1 now. And kind of just, I think he wants that scoring unit available to go after the objective. So this is what it looks like after Empire Sonnstahl turn 4, going into Empire Sonnstahl or Beast Herd's turn 4. You can see I did shoot the Melissa with pistols at the Centaur, and I think I killed 4, which was not bad. So going into his turn 4, oh yeah, you can see that right there. I must have forgot to shoot that sequentially. But this guy continues to flee. And he brings in his wild horns with the shaman into the militia. And he brings in the kind of just brings the centaur over. I didn't ended up standing and shooting. That's right. They have altered sight. That's what it is. They have altered sight, and I think I have some kind of bound spell up. Oh, you know what? I got the flaming bound spell up because I wanted to try and poke a wound on the shaman, and that didn't work. So I just side screw it. And maybe a bit of a deterrent against the beast sword too. So as you can see, the wild horns go in the militia, the minotaur goes into the leftmost Imperial Rocketeers, and the beast lord goes into the Knights of the Sun Griffin that are fighting the mongrels. So that is that. Not much we can do about that. The magic phases was somewhat successful. He got +1, I think, strength off on them. And I want to say I was just having a tough time, between the evocation spells too. And yeah, just a lot of spells for him to sling around. Shamanism got a nice buff with Savage Fury going to 24 inches too. This is way out of focus, but yeah, apparently in my Empire Sonnstahl turn 5, I put Altered Sight on this volley gun. And yes, so we ended up finally breaking his shaman in combat, just with static combat res. He flees, we don't catch him, and then on our turn, Empire Sonnstahl turn 5, we charge him, he flees really short, we catch him, and then we turn around, sort of face the mongrels, and the Razor Tusk character, who did beat the Knights of the Sun Griffin in combat, ended up getting a bunch of bounce. My opponent could not stop bounce spells on the last 2 turns, so I ended up getting a bunch of them off. But this is a good picture just to show what's kind of going on. So, those wild horns on my opponent's turn 4 blew through those those militia. They were in this perfect spot to just get punked on by the volley guns, and the volley guns also just rolled like shit again and just didn't do anything. So that was a bit of a bummer. The Minotaur took out the Imperial Rocketeer, which was a bummer. He took a wound for it, which I thought was nice, but yeah, he had no problem doing that. So this is on my turn 5. The Knights of the Sun Griffin beat on the Mongrels and killed them. They lose 1 model, and then they reform to look like that. They're trying to protect the objective. On the left, I was having no problem. I had all the time in the world to move my heavy infantry on the hill, so I got 1 more turn. And I actually attempted to charge my Imperial Guard into the rear of the Centaurs. I needed like a 15. Didn't get that. That's fine. And as you can see, this is my opponent's turn 5. Beastard's turn 5. The Minotaur goes into the volley gun, smokes it. The Mongrels have charged the other volley gun in the forest. They're gonna smoke it, overrun, try and get into the water feature. And he's just sort of moved his Centaurs up aggressively to make me have to do something about them. And his general is, sort of just chilling at this point. So for magic, I want to say he got Savage Fury off, which is really good for the Fearless, actually. Not that I have anything to make him... I guess I don't think... Yeah, I don't really have anything to threaten him with the Panic Test, but it's just a good spell. And, yeah. So on my turn 6, I just get right in front of the Centaurs. I honestly think I just win this fight. I don't even care about being in a forest. I've got so many attacks. I put Brace for Impact on these guys. Yeah, they're going to have a hard time if they come in here. They could try maybe punk a character, but again, it's really, I think, low survivability for that unit. A lot of points for me to scoop up. And I charged his Beast Lord in the rear. So, yeah, I was... because I want to say, yeah, I'm not sure. It's interesting. Oh, that's right. The Beast Lord pushed off. There was 1 remaining Knight of the Sun Griffin that could have rallied on like a 4, that could have maybe chaffed the Longhorns or charged them if he rallied on the turn 5. So he ended up on his turn, or on turn 6, I don't know, maybe just saying points, I guess. He pushed off that Knights of the Sun Griffin, so that allowed me to get a rear on him, which, I don't think he's too worried about. He's still pretty punchy, even if I'm in his rear. And, really not... we get Electric Slide off again. He can't stop it. He just rolls poorly. And then I think I get 2 more Bounce Walls off. He just couldn't stop the Bounce Walls either for some reason in the last 2 turns. These guys come in, they do a wound. These guys have no problem getting into the train feature on turn 6. And then the only really significant things is this guy, my opponent throws 5 dice to, I think, get the toughness buff off on his general so he can survive. And he just sucks himself through the veil. So, oops. So my opponent was borrowing an Empire miniature he needed an extra wizard. So the traitor dies. And then, yeah, so you got the Awaken the Beast off for Resilience, which was a little bit helpful. I still end up poking another wound through. So, that's nice. I get half points on his general. That's pretty good. He's an expensive model. And, nothing really happens in that combat. Otherwise, he's poking on me. I'm poking on him. I think we made him have a break test the first round just because we had all that combat res. But he's stuck, and then the second round, he actually failed his redirect to turn around, which was nice. But we couldn't quite break him and threaten those Wild Horns. So that was a bit of a bummer, because that could have been very nice. Actually, could have even caused a Panic Test at that point, because they're so close, but couldn't quite get it. We ended up getting rid of the Minotaur with one of the rocket batteries, and as you can see, my heavy infantry have gotten on the hill to tie the objective, unfortunately. Was hoping to claim it, but only tied it. So, rounding out the points, the Empire Sonnstahl got 3,392 victory points. The Beastards got 1,785, which left us with a difference of 1,607, which is a 14-6 win for the Empire of Sonnstahl. Tied on objectives, since he had his Wild Horns, who made their way across the whole battlefield, basically, to get into that pond, and the heavy infantry on the hill on my opponent's deployment. So great game. Both my opponent, really, we had a great time. Some very, swingy rolls, kind of back and forth between break tests and shooting and saves, but really fun. Overall, we had a great time. Really excited about the new points. They look fantastic, honestly. I'm right now. I'm just optimistic about them for Empire Sonnstahl. Really think core is going to be a lot more viable. Just so many more bodies. That's going to be so helpful. And I'm overall ecstatic about what Imperial Guard are going to look like. And characters, too. I think the characters got some good tweaks, too. Everyone, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon for another 9th Age Battle Report.